Chapter 403, Space Moving. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. Those participating in the third round of examinations took the Silvery Moon ships and flew out of the East Region Saint City to a patch of empty desert. The ships stopped there. The 10 ships carried over 3,000 students each. The banner of the School of Martial Market was hung at the top of each mast. A huge array sat at the bottom of the ship. The silver inscriptions flowed out from the center of the array and slowly rotated to form an egg-shaped light screen, shielding the ship. Looking up from the ground, it was like 10 round Sylvan moons hanging in the vault of heaven. In the sword technique department of the Sylvan Moon ship, a sallow and lean student glanced down and overlooked the endless desert. With some confusion, he asked, "Aren't we going to the chaotic Millionverse Mountain?" "Why are we stopping here?" Laughter rang out beside him. One of the genius students of the Saint Shengentry looked at him like he was an idiot and laughed mockingly. "Bumpkin, where did you think the chaotic Millionverse Mountain is?" "It's the main camp of the battlefield of Primitive World." "It's not even in Kunlun's field. Rather, it's in the mysterious illusory space. If we don't throw a wormhole and space jump, it's impossible to get there." The sallow and lean student didn't mind his sarcasm and still asked modestly, "What's a wormhole?" "Space jump." "How can we arrive at the chaotic Millionverse Mountain?" "Idiot." The genius student from the Saint Shengentry held his sword with both hands and turned his head to the side. He wore a very proud expression and didn't continue to explain. Standing next to the sallow student, Zhang Yuochen chimed in. "The so-called wormhole is a naturally formed space hole. It connects Kunlun's field and the chaotic Millionverse Mountain. There are many wormholes in the eastern region. Some are connected to the central region, some to the western, southern, and northern regions. Some are connected to mysterious primitive worlds. These are just the dozen or so wormholes that have been found, and they are spread everywhere. For example, the eastern and central regions are countless kilometers apart. Without wormholes, it'd take 10 years of running without stopping at the speed of the Heaven Realm, but they may still not reach the central region. With wormholes and space jump, it'd just take them a short moment. The wormhole leading to the chaotic Millionverse Mountain is right where we are now. This wormhole has long been under the control of the Ministry of War of the Imperial Court. Furthermore, there are saints from the Ministry of War who have laid down defensive arrays around the boundary, and it is guarded by the army. A normal warrior needs to save enough spiritual crystals to be able to go through the wormhole toward the chaotic Millionverse Mountain. The genius student of the Saint Shengentry was angered, feeling that speaker was speaking too much. But once he turned around and saw the speaker was Zhang Yuochen, his anger immediately disappeared. He had seen Zhang Yuochen at the stairway to heaven, so he naturally knew how powerful the latter was. Though his gentry had a resounding reputation, it couldn't subdue Zhang Yuochen, one of the 6 great kings of the new generation. He thought it was best to keep his distance from Zhang Yuochen. The genius student immediately retreated far away. The sallow student raised his hands in gratitude and professed his thanks. "I'm Wu Ziyao of the Lincoln Commandery. Many thanks for your teachings. How should I address you?" "I'm Zhang Yuochen from the Yunwu Commandery." Zhang Yuochen smiled. "Brother Zhang." "Wait. You're Zhang Yuochen, the commandery prince?" Wu Ziyao gave a loud cry and stared at him wide-eyed. He was so shocked that he didn't even lower his voice. Nearly all of the students on the ship heard him yell. Countless pairs of eyes turned toward Zhang Yuochen. The shock was especially apparent in the students who had been standing close to Zhang Yuochen. Like Wu Ziyao, they didn't expect the famous Zhang Yuochen to be on the same ship as them. Zhang Yuochen had become famous overnight after the publication of the Eastern Region Report. He became the benchmark for countless young warriors and an Adonis for countless young girls. Wu Ziyao, in particular, had made Zhang Yuochen his idol after reading the report and his goal to work toward. Unexpectedly, he was actually standing so close to his idol. His idol even gave him guidance. How exciting! Fortunately, right at this time, the Sylvan Moon ships began moving again and flew toward the wormhole. Just as they were about to proceed with a space jump, all of the genius students suppressed the excitement in their hearts. They closed their eyes and mobilized all of the genuine chi in their bodies to form a celestial body shield. When passing through wormholes, they still had to endure an enormous space pressure even with the defensive cover of the ship. It was best to use the celestial body shield to prevent injury. Zhang Yuochen was the only one who didn't trigger his celestial body shield. Instead, he released his spiritual power and prepared to sense the power of space. When passing through a wormhole, the fluctuation of space are extremely intense. I can use this opportunity to perceive the power of space, he thought. Boom! The ship shook violently the moment they entered the wormhole. An enormous amount of pressure surged in from all sides and exerted itself on the students. The students were masters in the heaven realm. Coupled with the protection of the celestial body shield, the pressure didn't greatly affect them. Zhang Yuochen used only his body to defend against the pressure of power of space. In a flash, all of the pores in his body shrunk violently. His spiritual power seemed to have become light streaks. He released them outward and they followed the ship through layers of space. Through his spiritual power, he could clearly sense that the ship crossed a distance of tens of thousands of miles of space in every moment. In an instant, he came to understand the true essence of space moving. He immediately mobilized his space power and executed, for the first time, space moving. Swoosh! In a flash, his body disappeared and then reappeared about 33 meters away. He stood beside a female student with long golden hair and pale skin. The student still had her eyes closed, defending against the power of space. She didn't notice him at all. What a magical power! Not any fluctuation of genuine chi. If there was genuine chi fluctuation, that student would certainly have noticed. Zhang Yuochen unconsciously clenched his hands, his heart beating wildly. He was extremely happy. He had finally successfully executed space moving. Now, he had one more life-saving unique technique. Space moving wasn't a matter of speed. No matter how quickly, if one wanted to cross 33 meters of space, it would still take time. But he crossed 33 meters of space in almost no time at all. Even a half-saint couldn't be faster than him. Swish, swish. Zhang Yuochen tested it 13 times in a row in differing positions, leaving behind a number of human shadows. It was like there were 13 of him standing on the deck of the ship. 12 shadows gradually disappeared, leaving just one Zhang Yuochen. He returned to his original position and stood there. Given my current cultivation, I can cross about 56 meters at most each time. Even if a monk of the 9th change of the fish dragon realm wanted to kill me, probably won't be easy for him, he thought. Though he had mastered space moving, it didn't mean that he was invincible. Each time, he could only move a distance of about 33 meters. He then had to stop and spend some time to execute space moving for the second time. A half-saint would be able to kill him the moment he stopped. He wouldn't even have the chance to use space moving a second time. Of course, that was a half-saint. It was enough for him easily escape a monk of the fish dragon realm using space moving. Only a superior of the fish dragon realm would be able to hold him. With space moving, it should be enough to move unhindered through the inferior primitive world if I'm careful. There shouldn't be any power that can threaten me. His mood was excellent. Boom. Just then, the ship once again shook violently. They were about to pass through the wormhole. Bam! A streak of eye-piercing white light radiated out, piercing Zhang Yuochen's eyes. He temporarily lost his sight in that instant. In the next moment, the ship entered a pitch-black and icy-cold illusory space. Zhang Yuochen gazed into the distance and only saw an enormous mountain ridge hovering in the darkness. It was about 500 kilometers long. The mountain ridge was made of strong rock, crisscrossed like canine teeth. Forests lined the peaks, appearing impressive and majestic. It was like an enormous mountain-shaped meteorite, forever hovering in space. It was the first time for many students on the ship to visit the chaotic Millionverse mountain. They were shocked speechless at the scenery before them. As the ship flew closer and closer, they could faintly see the densely packed army camps built on the 500-kilometer-long mountain ridge. Some warships flew out from the mountain ridge and went through the primitive world passage. It took a boatload of human warriors to the battlefield of primitive world. Warships were flying out at the same time, carrying bloody sergeants to the army camp on the mountain to recover. This was a splendid sight. Every day, Countless young warriors come from all over Kunlun's field to the chaotic Millionverse mountain. They would enter the army camp and head for the battlefield. They would fight to open up land for humankind, open new worlds, and create new human culture. The students from the school of the martial market felt their blood boiling when they saw this scene. They also wanted to enter the battlefield and become a pioneering warrior of humankind. Raging flames surged in the sallow student, Wu Ziyao's eyes. We who train in martial arts should use our power in the battlefield of primitive world. We should do our best to kill enemies and open up a wider world for humankind to live in. Only the great Empress Kaiyao could have such daring to not only unite the humans of Kunlun's field but also beat the savage beasts into submission. Furthermore, the expansion of the land of primitive world. Under her leadership, humankind is sure to be the dominator of the entire world. Many students were kneeling with utmost respect on the ground, kowtowing towards the enormous statue of Empress Kaiyao in the chaotic Millionverse world. They were incomparably respectful and pious. It was only after Empress Kaiyao had unified Kunlun's field that human tribe truly freed their hands to deal with the clans of savage beasts. They suppressed the beasts in all directions and opened the primitive world. The status and overall power of human tribe seemed to have reached a peak. Previously, the human tribe of Kunlun's field was powerful, but almost all of them were fighting and killing each other. It was difficult to align their hearts and have them work together to defeat the clans of savage beasts, much less open up land in the primitive world. In the eyes of these students, Empress Kaiyao was far more divine than the great emperor. It was to the extent that they considered her to be the true peerless Saint Emperor.